We had another mass shooting this week because they never stop and they're never going to stop until we do something about it. But 43-year-old Kevin Neal killed 4 people in Northern California. You know, what's wild is now these ones don't have that big of an impact. I mean, this got coverage for half a day and it was gone. Why? Because you only killed 4 people. You know, we're used to fucking Las Vegas numbers now. If you're not killing like over 15, we'll give you a little bit of coverage, but no. I mean, if you kill 2 people, that's not even going to make the news. That might not even make the fucking local news. Never mind national news. So that's, you know, how far we've gone down this rabbit hole where we're so numb to it. I mean, after Sandy Hook, when you had children who were slaughtered and Republicans bragged about blocking any kind of gun reform legislation, as Mitch McConnell did on Twitter, you knew that we were so far gone on this issue that it's like, anybody else who's not in America can't wrap their minds around it. They're like, whoa, really? Half a day coverage. Guy killed 4 people, 43 years old, in Northern California. He was armed with a semi-automatic weapon and 2 handguns when he began firing at random. That's a you know, a very relaxing thought, isn't it? Like, oh, just at random. You're just driving around. Yeah, let's go gun people down. But here's the kicker to the story that will drive you mad. This guy assaulted his neighbors. So it happened about a year ago, I think. He shot through a fence at 2 women. He jumped over the fence. He stabbed one of the women. And then he stole the other one's cell phone. So he was arrested and it was like, wow, this is a serious crime. He was given bail, though. What? $300,000 bail. And he was able to get out. He was supposed to face trial in a few months. I think in January he was supposed to face trial. And yeah, this is what happened when he was let out. The guy has a history of felonies and was described by people as, quote, crazy. So let's look at this. Let's look at this objectively. You have a guy who, and his picture, I mean, look, you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but I would submit to you that we're not just judging him by the cover, we're judging him by the cover and all the other facts I just fucking gave you. He looks like he's out of his mind. He looks like he has some serious, serious problems, okay? So let's walk through this again. 43 years old. He just recently assaulted his neighbors, shot through a fence at 2 women, stabbed one, stole the other one's cell phone. Why would that guy be given bail? And forget that, okay, put that aside. He legally allowed to have guns in this situation? No, but now this is like the second or third story just within the past few months of somebody who ended up committing an atrocity, who committed assault or committed domestic abuse or did some really terrible crime. How the fuck can these people have guns? How can these people have guns? Listen, you're a law-abiding citizen. I get it. 100%. I'm not going to argue against you being able to have a gun, of course. But the whole point of having a fucking background check system is that you try to keep the guns out of the hands of the lunatics. And this guy has a fucking history of being a lunatic. Now, you can say, well, Kyle, still, if you stop this guy from getting a gun, maybe he goes on the black market and gets a gun and he carries this shit out anyway. Yes, maybe. But if you have a universal background check system with very clear rules about who can have it and who doesn't have it, guess what? That is going to cut back on the number of cases like this because sometimes some people just need a little bit of a disincentive. Just make it kind of hard for them to carry out the thing that they're trying to carry out, and it doesn't happen. Guys, it's macro picture versus micro picture. You want to point at a certain individual instance and say, hey, there's no gun regulation that could have prevented this one or that one or that one. Totally true, and I'm not going to argue against you. But when you look at the macro picture, and we have over 33,000 gun deaths every year, and that includes everything, homicides, suicides, accidents, and we have over 10,000 or 11,000 gun homicides every year. Yes, if you do basic gun reform, there's a decent chance you cut that 11,000 number to like 5,000. So you just save 6,000 lives simply by having a strict universal background check that has clear rules about who's not able to get a gun. And if you say this guy's not able to get a gun, well, many of the people who are like him, history of felonies, just recently assaulted somebody, stabbed somebody, stole somebody's phone, some of them are going to be blocked from getting a gun, and then lives are going to be saved. It's amazing that I have to even make this argument. It really is. Because you talk to people in other modern nations, they're like, I don't know. It's amazing to me that this guy was able to have guns. It's not that much to ask. 93% of the American people say we should have a universal background check for gun purchases. You would get a majority of Republicans and a majority of NRA members to agree that, yes, of course, guys like this shouldn't have weapons. And hey, if we ban guys like this from getting it and they fail the background check, maybe some of them end up getting it on the black market and committing their crime anyway. Yes, but it would only be some of them. You would disincentivize many of them and make it harder for many of them to be able. Not everybody has to connect to the black market to get the gun. So some of the people who are crazy would just not be able to get their hands on a gun, and then you prevented many atrocities. So it's a matter of macro picture. And in the macro picture, if you say, hey man, let guys like this have the weapons, then there's no reasoning with you. You believe it as if it's some sort of divine, axiomatic truth given from the heavens above that no matter what, you can't do any kind of gun reform. And that's not a position, then there's no discussion to be had. That's it. That's just, okay, no matter what. Doesn't matter what somebody does. It's not that much to ask for, man. It's really not. I can't believe he was even given bail, given the severity of this crime. But there you have it. Here's one of the shootings that could have been completely avoidable. By the way, other ones too, high-profile ones. Apparently in the Dylan Roof one, he went to get a gun. They started the background check. They didn't complete the background check, but it was taking a while, so they sold him the guns. If they had one more day of a waiting period, then they would have had the information, and the guy said, I wouldn't have sold him a gun. So there's another one that maybe could have been avoided. Now, again, you could say, hey, who knows? In that instance, maybe he would have found it on the black market. I tend to doubt it. I don't think he has many connects like that. He seems like a super awkward dude who wouldn't even know what step to make in order to try to get the weapon. Maybe he finds some unscrupulous dealer, but then you crack down on the unscrupulous dealers. The point is, on the macro level, yes, you'd be able to stop many of these things if you just keep the weapons out of the hands of the lunatics. And that's what the Republicans specifically fought against recently. Remember, it was a huge story because there's a rule under Social Security where some people are determined, hey, you're not of sound enough mind to control your finances. So this is a thing that happens where there's some people who hit a certain age and they're a little out of it or whatever, and, hey, you're not of sound mind to control your finances, so, this is how we're going to control them. But the Republicans argued, Obama had a rule that said, listen, if you are not of sound mind to control your money, you can't have a gun. That's not an unreasonable thing. Well, the Republicans came in and said, no, we're going to fight against that. And they did. They scrapped it. Trump scrapped that. So now people who are not of sound enough mind to control their money are legally allowed to get guns. It's like they work overtime to try to get rid of even the most basic rules and regulations on this front. So it's a goddamn shame. Yes, this is an instance of a shooting. Sometimes, hey man, I'm totally objective about this, or at least I try my hardest to be. Where there's some shootings where you've seen it. I've done the segments where I come out there and I say, I don't know if there's any regulation that could have prevented this particular one. Here's one where there's a pretty good chance that just a strong universal background check would have prevented this. Or at least not giving this guy bail, which I don't think he would have gotten it. If I was the judge, he wouldn't have gotten it. I mean, this one could have been prevented. And it's a goddamn shame it wasn't. And it's a shame it was out of the news cycle in about half a day.